Jesus take the wheel. See, me saying that, it ignites something in you, right? Because so many of us have grew up on that phrase. But what happens when he takes the wheel? What happens when we think we should be going left and he grabs the wheel and steers us right? A lot of the frustration that happens in life is because we as a people are so focused on the outcome and God is focused on the process. You ever went on a job interview and you go and you feel like you did amazing? Then you get that call and they say, hey, listen, you had a great interview, but we're going to go in another direction. You're instantly frustrated. Now you resort back to, God ain't listening to me. He know I needed that job. But Jesus take the wheel, right? See, when you're focused on the outcome, you miss the process. In that interview, when you were asked questions about things that you knew, that you didn't know. When those qualifications, when they're saying, hey, how are you in word processing? How are you in Excel? And you knew that that wasn't your strong point, you can look at it one of two ways. You can look at it that God ain't blessing you, or you can look at it and say, okay, so I need to get Excel under my repertoire. When I used to go through things, I was so concerned about the outcome. I was so concerned about it's supposed to happen like this. Case in point, I thought that years ago I would be on somebody's TV. And I know that sounds crazy, right? But I wanted to be Steve Harvey. I'm being honest, right? Like I didn't want to tell jokes, but I thought that I would be in radio or TV. That's what I thought. So as I was doing videos way back then, before this stuff was even popular, as I'm writing and stuff, I'm doing all of this stuff, I'm blogging, I'm doing all of this stuff, and it seems like it just wasn't panning out. Now, at a point in my life, I was just frustrated because I thought I knew what the outcome was supposed to be. But the learning and what God had for me was in the process. See, I thought I was taking L's, but God was preparing me. We fast forward to 2026 and everybody has their own talk show if you have social media. You might not be on NBC, but you have your own network, whether it be Facebook Live, whether it be TikTok, whether it be Instagram. You are your own entity. What you do with that is what you do with that. So I had years of videos because God was preparing me in the process. And let me tell you where we mess up. See, frustration and faith should not be in the same sentence, because a lot of the frustration that you have in your life is based on the lack of faith that you have in your life. Now, we are all human, so we are going to have these moments. We're going to have that's a human experience. But when you lack, that's when the faith should kick in. You ever been in your car and you put in your GPS? As you're driving, you're looking at your GPS, then all of a sudden you say, you know what, I know a faster way. Now think about how crazy that sounds. You put in the GPS where you want to go. And when you get halfway, you say, I know a faster way. You turn off the GPS, then you taking a left, you making a right, you make a left, and you hit traffic. Now, is it the GPS fault or did you take the wheel? A lot of experiences that we have in life are not meant to hurt us. It's meant to grow us. Relationships. You ever been in a relationship and you gave your all? I'm talking about you loved hard. You learned their love languages. You did everything possible to make this person happy. And they didn't even give you a tenth of that. They didn't even, not only meet you halfway, you was just like, come in the door, and they couldn't even do that. Now here's this. The outcome of that relationship now has you moving forward saying, I will never trust again. I'm never going to give my all. And the first sign of, whatever, I'm leaving, because you were so focused on the outcome. But if you change how you look at it, you wouldn't understand that God showed you something through the process. See, 5 years prior, you never thought that you can give your all to someone. So yes, the outcome didn't come out like you thought it was going to do, but in the process, you learn how to love. You learn how to give your all. So now when you pursue something else, when you got God first, you've already proven that you can do these things. But some people will go on and say, I ain't trusting nobody no more, because you're focused on the outcome and God is in the process. That's who you really find out who you are. I remember when my grandmother used to be cooking and it smelled so good, and I would walk by in the kitchen and I kept opening the oven. And my grandmother would get so upset. She'd say, stop opening that oven. It's going to take longer to cook. I didn't understand it. She said, you're going to let all the heat out. but I'm thinking it's an oven. But throughout the course of her life, she learned from her mom and she learned from her mom that you leave it in. They didn't believe in timers. My grandmother just had an internal clock that she knew when it was going to be done. But when I kept opening it, you delayed the process. And that's my message to people out there, everyone, even into myself. God is in the process. The outcome is going to be. Me and my son had a conversation last night and we were talking and he just kept saying like, you wasn't upset? And I just kept hearing my grandfather's voice. Why would I get upset about something that I have no control over? See, when you understand that things are going to happen, the only control that you have is the reaction to it. You got people in your family talking about you. And I'm speaking to myself because I've been going through this for almost 2 years now. When people are lying on you, I can't control the liar. I can just control how I react to it. See, the truth will always outlive the lie. So in knowing that, how can I get upset for being who they are? This is where we make mistakes in our friend groups as well. We fall in love with that group because of the potential that we think that group has. In the meanwhile, God is trying to take the wheel. I'm trying to steer you up over here. That's why your friend circle, they always talking about you. That's why when you talk to someone else, you hearing your business that you told somebody else in private. That's Jesus taking the wheel and you study staring it back. So to summarize this video, understand that it's the process, not the outcome. There's certain things in life that you have no control over. When you walk into that interview, you have no control if they're going to hire you. The only thing that you can control is your reaction to it. I'm never late. This is my superpower. I'm never late for anything. If I got to be somewhere at 7 o'clock, I am on the road at 6, at the latest 6:15 for maybe a 20-minute ride. But I grew up seeing my grandfather always respect time. And he used to tell me this, you never know what can happen. There might be an accident. There might be this, that, and other. You never know. So I'm just putting this in the last part because if you're watching this and you're preparing to go for work and you're sitting there and you're just chilling, don't get upset when you get out and you hit traffic because you should have started out later. See, you can't control the outcome. You can just control your reaction to it. So anyways, I want to thank y'all again for all the support. And I hope that in these videos that you get something out of it. Y'all have a blessed day.